Hello, Taylor Ellwood here, and I thought today that I would talk about themes and how to recognize them and use them in your life, because you will invariably have experiences where you experience themes, and these themes are going to show up in different ways. Um, I think that I think I first really began to recognize and identify specific types of themes when I started to see that with the elemental magic and how elemental magic would, I'd work with a theme for the year. So I'd be working with, like the element of water, or the element of silence, or the element of emptiness, or something else. And I would see recurrent themes as I purposely worked with that element. However, as I continued on my magical work, one of the things I also discovered was, and this was thanks to my good friend Eric Roth from Shamanic Astrology. He ended up telling me about astrological currents or astrological themes, and I started to notice that as well, where there would be certain themes or experiences with that. So, like in 2017, I dealt with the astrological theme of Neptune, and really dealing with like my Neptune opposition, which was a very interesting period of time. I've been doing a lot of work with Saturn, and I definitely noticed a lot of that theme showing up in my life, and that's kind of been a pretty prevalent one in terms of just the magical work, and but also just my life. And what kind of got me thinking about this was an experience that I had earlier or a few related experiences that I had this week, that really kind of became their own theme, and that I started to really pay attention to, because I was like, oh, there's the theme going on here. Now, if you're new to this channel, go ahead and click like, or click subscribe, and click the notification bell for when I go live. And please like the video if you find it helpful, and or comment. And if you're a frequent flyer here, please do that too. So what happened earlier this week is that I had a few seemingly unrelated events occur, but when I look at them, I see them as themes. I ended up getting a bit sick this week, and it was basically a case of food poisoning. No fun there, but really it ended up being a purge of my body, so that was a good thing. It helped to cleanse me. But along with that, I ended up going through this experience where I kind of was like, all right, I had signed up for this one service, and what I was getting for that service was basically I was getting advertised. I was paying to be advertised to. Every day I would be getting these emails with links in them to videos, and then the videos would kind of go through, and they'd be like, "Here's the latest theme of this thing," and then at the end of course, the videos were pretty bad too. It was kind of obvious, like they're trying to build you up to make you buy, and create the urgency and everything else. And then it was like, oh, now pay X amount of money, and but we're gonna knock it down because even though our publisher thinks we should charge this much, right? Familiar pressure oriented sales tactics. It's like, no, I don't need that. So then I'd also made a purchase for something, and it was something where with the purchase they said that there were boxes and papers included with the purchase, but it turned out that there weren't. And so what I ended up doing is I ended up requesting I ended up emailing the one service, and I said, look, I want my money back. I don't want to get paid to be advertised to. And then for the other one, I did a return to sender. I was like, nope, not accepting this. This is not, this is not what I thought I was getting. And so I'm returning to sender. Now you might think, like, okay, Taylor, that's great, but how is this really a theme for you? And I'm like, well, I was purifying my life of distractions, if you will. I was purifying my life of things that don't belong. In the one case, the one service, I decided to cut it, get my money back. I'm no longer going to be getting those emails where they're advertising to me every single day, trying to get money out of me because they're, you know, they're, and it's not, they're not really providing the service that I thought I was going to get. And the service that I did get wasn't that great. So it was like, okay, don't do that again. Lesson learned. For the other thing, it was kind of like, okay, part of that was on me and part of that was on the seller. They had listed it with boxes and papers, but they didn't have pictures of the boxes and papers. So, mea culpa, I'll own part of that. But it really kind of reinforced to me, like, okay, pay attention to the details. And at the same time, boundaries, good boundaries. What I was really doing is I was exercising my boundaries. I was saying no to other people and saying yes to myself. I was saying, these things that I said yes to that seemed like a good deal initially didn't turn out to be that way. So I'm going to say yes to myself, and I'm going to say no to them. Part of this is around a bigger theme of self-love as well. But when I think about it in relationship to the other experience that I was having, where I was a bit sick and I was basically, my body was purging, I kind of began to think about it as, okay, like you're going through a little cycle here where you are in different levels of your life releasing and purging things that no longer belong. And you're getting further clarity around what really matters to you and what you need to focus on. And it was interesting because my roommate brought up a point to me too, where basically she said, you need to like what you value is more along the lines of like the spiritual and like the deeper work and the things along those lines. Like that's what you value. Not that you don't care about money, you do care about money, but it's not as important to you as it would be to other people. In fact, there's a lot of truth to that. I do care about money. I mean, but if you look, I live a fairly minimalistic existence. I mean, I don't have a lot of things. Most of the money that I typically spend is on books. Occasionally I'll buy nice clothing because I'm enjoying that experience. But overall, my focus is really around trying to, if anything, it's to sock the money away to invest it in the right opportunities. Now, some of those opportunities are don't always work out, and that's where it's good to have those boundaries in place and know how to say no to someone else and say yes to yourself. Always say yes to yourself. That's one of the biggest lessons that I learned in 2022. Took me most of the year to learn it, but I learned it. Say yes to yourself and no to everyone else. And if you do say yes to someone else, say yes to them because you've said yes to yourself first. That's really important. And, not everyone can do that. I wasn't able to do that. It took me most of my life to get to this point, but it's important. And I realized that. And so there's this very real understanding that I've come to about themes and the way that themes show up in your life, the things that you end up paying attention to. That's something that you really want to pay attention to and care about. So like if you have a theme of purification or a theme of release or a theme of boundaries or a theme of something else, like pay attention to how that theme is showing up in different areas of your life, because what's happening is that something is being expressed to you. And if you can be consciously aware of it, then you can actually take it and really work with it. What helped me, like for example, was that today I got the one item that I decided to return. And I could kind of tell, I was like, there's something off about this. It's not right. So what I ended up doing is I ended up deciding to, I looked at it carefully and I'm like, you know what? This isn't quite what I thought it was. Some of that I'll take on, some of that I'll take responsibility for. Some of it will be the other person. But this is a good example of something that I should have paid better attention to. And that's what I learned. So it's like, okay, pay attention to those details. Keep paying attention to the details. It was the same thing with the other service. I'm like, okay, I signed up for it. But I started paying attention to the details and I'm like, I'm consistently seeing X, Y, and Z, and this does not make me happy. Well, if I'm not getting the value out of this that I thought I was getting, then I need to really step back and take a concrete look at what I'm doing and make a better choice. And I can still do that. One of the most important things that we can do is sometimes recognize when we need to step back and make a choice that is made from a place of conscious awareness around something where you're able to say, this is what fits, this is what doesn't fit. And part of it I think really comes right down to like what it goes back to that question of value. What do you value? Well, I value my time. And really, I mean, that's kind of the way that I look at anything is how does this contribute to my time? Is it taking away from my time, or is it adding to my time? Because you can't get your time back. Once it's gone, it's gone. If it's adding to my time, then then I should recognize that and see what I'm doing. But if it's not, then that's when I need to step away and very carefully recognize, like, don't invest more into this than you already have. Focus on what's really important to you. Focus on the essential. Focus on that path forward. And it helps right now. I'm reading this book called, amongst other things, I'm reading this book called Soul Shaping by Jeff Brown, and it's been really interesting to me. It's a journey about self-creation. And what's been interesting about it is that he kind of shared his own story, and he went through all these experiences. He became a lawyer, and then he ended up leaving that. Then he became a therapist. He left that. He went on this gradual journey where he eventually discovered like what his purpose was, but it took him a while to get there. And I can relate. That's been my experience with life. I've gone through these journeys where I've done certain things and then I've stepped away and I've had realizations like this wasn't quite the fit I thought it was. This wasn't quite what I was supposed to be doing. I'm getting clarity around, I'm getting clarity though around the things that I want to be doing. And I think really that's what's important, is that in our lives we get clarity around what we need to be doing. And we carefully choose the things that we're doing. And so we pay attention to the themes. And like in this case, my theme of letting go and purging has been kind of like okay, here's the things not to hold on to. Here's the things to hold on to. Here's the things that you've learned. Here's the things to allow you to step away and be like, okay, this is something I learned and discovered, and I know what works and what doesn't work. So when you recognize the themes in your life, pay attention to them. Look and see, is there something going on astrologically? Is there something going on some other ways? What are the prevalent currents or themes that are going on in my life? And how can I pay attention to those and start applying them in a meaningful way? They're happening anyway. How can I work with them instead of working against them? You don't want to resist them, because if you resist them, I think you'll find that it ends up taking away from the efficacy of the experience, and it ends up creating a lot more problems than it helps. And that's something that I think is really important to recognize. I've had experiences like that where I like resisted an experience and I tried to fight against it, and it ended up burying me for a while. So it's important to recognize that and realize, like, okay, you're having this experience. Like for me, when I had this experience of release, of purification, of kind of realizing, okay, there's some things I have to return to sender, all that other stuff, it really clarified things for me. It's like, okay, this is what you need to do. This is what's going to help you. This is what's getting in your way. Relax and flow into this current. Work with it, accept it. You'll come out of it wiser and smarter. And that's really what we want. All right, so that's it for this video this week. I'll see you guys probably in another 2 weeks. As you know, I've kind of changed my format and approach to this. But think about your own themes. Like, what are the themes in your life that are currently happening? How are they being expressed? What levels are they being expressed on? What can you do to pay attention to that? And then go from there and see what happens.